A lonely alien girl in the marketplace. Lyra stood at the edge of the marketplace, her thin hands clutching a small basket of old metal pieces and shiny stones. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and sad. The people around her were mostly humans, tall and busy, speaking in fast voices that she could barely understand. Every morning, Lyra came to this place, hoping to sell something so she could buy a little food for herself. But every morning felt the same, cold, lonely, and full of stares. Today, the sun was bright, but Lyra felt a chill in her heart. She tried to keep her head down as she walked. Past the busy stalls, some humans pointed at her and whispered. Some children giggled and called her names. "Look at her skin," one boy said. "She looks like a fish." Lyra's cheeks turned a darker shade of blue, and she pulled her hood lower. She did not want to answer or fight. She only wanted to be invisible. She found a small spot near an old wall and sat down. She placed her basket on the ground, arranging the metal pieces and stones so they would catch the light. Maybe someone would see something beautiful, she thought, but most people just walked by, not even looking at her. A few glanced at her basket and shook their heads. No one stopped, no one smiled. Hours passed slowly. Lyra's stomach growled, reminding her that she had not eaten since yesterday. Her legs were cold, and her hands felt numb. She tried to stay strong, but the sadness inside her kept growing. She remembered her mother's voice, soft and gentle, telling her stories about stars and kindness. But her mother was gone now, taken by the war. Lyra was alone on this strange, human planet. She missed her home, her family, and the feeling of being loved. As she sat in silence, a group of human boys came closer. They were older than the children from before, and their faces were not kind. They looked at Lyra and laughed. One of them picked up a stone from her basket and held it up. "What's this, alien girl?" he said. "Junk." Lyra shook her head and tried to reach for the stone. "It's not junk," she whispered. "It's special. Please." But the boy threw it on the ground and stepped on it. The stone cracked, and Lyra's heart broke. Little more, another boy pushed her basket with his foot, scattering the metal pieces. The boys laughed louder. "Why are you here?" one of them asked. "No one wants you. Go away." Lyra felt tears in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She did not want to cry in front of them. She tried to pick up her things, but the boys kept kicking them out of her reach. People in the market watched but did nothing. Some looked away, pretending not to see. Others just smiled a little, as if the scene was normal. Lyra felt smaller and smaller. She wished she could disappear. She wanted to run away, but her legs would not move. The world around her felt too big, too loud, and too cruel. She wrapped her arms around herself, holding her pain inside. Suddenly, a new voice spoke. It was calm but strong. "Leave her alone," the voice said. The boys stopped laughing and turned to look. A human man stood nearby, his eyes serious and his voice steady. He wore a simple jacket and had kind eyes. He did not shout, but there was something in his voice that made the boys step back. One of the boys tried to speak, but the man shook his head. "You heard me?" The man said, "Go." Now, the boys looked at each other, unsure. For a moment, they wanted to fight. But then they saw something in the man's eyes and slowly walked away. The man watched them leave, then turned to Lyra. He knelt down so he could see her face. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Lyra stared at him, not sure if she could trust him. No human had ever spoken to her kindly before. She nodded slowly, wiping a tear from her cheek. The man smiled a little and began to pick up the metal pieces and stones. He placed them back in her basket. When he finished, he handed the basket to Lyra and said, "It's okay. You're safe now." Lyra looked into his eyes and saw something she had not seen in a long time: kindness. Her heart felt warm, just for a moment. The man stood up and offered her a piece of bread from his own bag. Lyra hesitated. unsure, but her hunger was strong and his smile was gentle. She took the bread, her hands shaking a little. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice small but full of hope. The man nodded. "You're welcome. My name is Tom." Lyra watched as Tom walked away into the crowd. For the first time in many days, Lyra felt less alone. She looked at the piece of bread and then at the sky. Maybe tomorrow would be different. Maybe someone could see her differently too. He offers kindness. She offers doubt the next morning. Lyra woke up before the sun. Her tiny room was cold, the window cracked. Letting in the morning air, she hugged herself under a thin blanket. Trying to remember the warm feeling from yesterday, for the first time in many weeks, someone had spoken to her with kindness. She thought about Tom, the human man who had given her bread and picked up her things. The memory felt like a soft glow in her chest, but her doubts still whispered. Was he really kind, or did he just feel sorry for her? Could she trust a human? She had seen humans change so quickly. They smiled, then turned cruel in an instant. She didn't want to believe too quickly. Lyra put on her old coat and picked up her basket. There were fewer things left now, but she had to try again. Her stomach was not so empty thanks to Tom's bread, but she knew she needed more to survive. The market was already awake, full of voices and footsteps. She walked carefully. Staying away from the bullies, she sat down in her usual place by the old wall. She hoped Tom would come, but she didn't expect it. After all, most humans forgot about her the moment they left. Time passed slowly. A few people passed by her basket, but no one stopped. Some looked at her with cold eyes. One woman made a face and hurried her children away. Lyra lowered her head and waited. Then, after an hour, she saw Tom. He walked through the market, looking left and right, searching for her. When he saw Lyra, he smiled and waved. He came over and knelt down beside her. "Good morning," Tom said softly. Lyra stared at him, surprised. No one had ever come back before. Tom pulled out a paper bag and offered it to her. Inside were small cakes and another piece of bread. Lyra hesitated, not sure if she should take them. "Don't worry, it's safe," Tom said. "I made sure of it." His eyes were gentle, but Lyra still felt nervous. She took the food, her hands shaking a little. She looked up at Tom and asked in a very small voice, "Why are you helping me?" Tom thought for a moment before answering. "I saw you yesterday, and I remembered how it feels to be alone," he said. "Everyone needs a friend sometimes." Lyra looked away, feeling a strange pain in her chest. She wanted to believe him, but she remembered her mother's words, "Be careful. Some people wear kind faces but have cruel hearts." She stayed quiet, eating the bread in tiny bites. Tom did not leave. He sat beside her, watching the people go by. After a few minutes, he said, "Do you want to talk?" Lyra shrugged. "About what?" "Anything you want," Tom replied. She looked at the market, at the busy humans who never saw her. She wanted to ask Tom why he was different. Instead, she asked, "Why don't you laugh at me like the others?" Tom smiled sadly. "Because I know how it feels." He pointed to a scar on his hand. "When I was young, people made fun of me, too." Lyra looked at his hand and then at his eyes. For a moment, she saw real pain there. Slowly, Lyra began to relax. Tom asked simple questions about her favorite color, her home, and what she liked to eat. She answered in short sentences. She told him her favorite color was silver. Like the stars, she liked sweet fruits. Though she rarely had any, she missed her mother, who used to sing her songs at night. Tom listened carefully, never interrupting. He did not laugh or make fun. He only listened. After a while, Tom offered her a small cup of warm tea. Lyra took it, holding it in her cold hands. As she sipped, she felt a little more comfortable. But doubt still sat in her heart, heavy like a stone. She said softly, "I know I'm not beautiful like your women." Tom looked at her, surprised. He shook his head. "Beauty isn't just about how someone looks," he said. "It's about how kind you are." And how brave. Lyra wanted to believe him, but she remembered all the cruel words humans had said. She looked down. "Most people don't see me like that." Tom nodded. "Most people only see what they want to see." He smiled. "But I see someone strong. Someone who keeps going no matter what." Lyra felt her heart beat a little faster. For a moment, she allowed herself to believe him. She wondered what it would be like to trust Tom. Maybe he was different from the others. Still, her doubts did not leave her. Trust was like a locked door inside her, but Tom's kindness was a gentle knock. Maybe, if he kept knocking, the door would open one day. As the sun began to set, Tom stood up. He gave Lyra a small bag of fruit for later. "I'll see you tomorrow," he asked. Lyra nodded, almost smiling. She watched as Tom walked away into the golden light for the first time in a long time. Lyra felt hope, but she also felt fear. Could she really trust a human? Would he return again, or would he disappear? Like everyone else, as night fell, Lyra looked at the small bag of fruit in her lap. She whispered to herself, "Maybe tomorrow will be different." Her heart, once so cold, now held a tiny, growing flame. Stories over broken bread. The next day, Lyra woke up with a new feeling inside her. It was not happiness, not yet, but it was softer than sadness. She sat up slowly, holding the bag of fruit Tom had given her the day before. She ate one small piece, tasting sweetness she had almost forgotten. Her room was still cold. The world outside still loud and dangerous, but inside her heart, something had changed. She left her tiny room and walked carefully to the market. The streets were crowded, full of busy humans. Some stared at her, others ignored her, but Lyra kept moving. Holding her basket close, she reached her usual spot by the old wall. She set her things down and looked around. Searching for Tom, she tried not to hope. But her heart still beat faster every time she saw a man in a jacket. Minutes passed, then an hour. Lyra's doubts started to grow again. Maybe Tom was just being kind for one day. Maybe he would not come back. She tried to tell herself it was okay. She had lived alone before, and she could do it again. But the loneliness felt heavier today. She wrapped her arms around herself and watched the crowd. Then, suddenly, she saw him. Tom was walking toward her, carrying 2 cups and a small brown bag. He waved, smiling, and Lyra felt her doubts melt away. Just for a moment, he sat down beside her, placing the cups and bag between them. "Good morning, Lyra," Tom said. Lyra nodded, her voice soft. "Good morning." Tom handed her one of the cups. "It's warm tea," he said. "And I brought breakfast, too." He opened the brown bag to show 2 pieces of bread and a few slices of fruit. Lyra's stomach rumbled, and she looked away, embarrassed. Tom laughed gently. "Don't worry, everyone gets hungry." He broke the bread in half and gave 1 piece to Lyra as they ate. Tom started talking about his life. He told Lyra about his home on another planet, how he used to fix machines with his father. He missed his family, who lived far away. Lyra listened quietly, surprised by how open he was. She never thought humans missed anyone or felt lonely, but Tom's eyes looked sad sometimes, just like hers. After a while, Tom asked, "Will you tell me about your home?" Lyra hesitated, but Tom's eyes were gentle. She told him about her planet, a world of blue mountains and soft winds. She described the silver lakes that glowed at night and the way her mother sang to her under the stars. Her voice shook little when she talked about the war, about how she had lost her family and ended up here. Tom listened to every word, never interrupting, as they shared stories. People in the market started to watch them. Some humans whispered and pointed. Few laughed, shaking their heads. Lyra felt their eyes on her. Sharp as knives, she shrank a little, wishing she could hide. But Tom just smiled at her and kept talking. He didn't seem to care about the people watching. Tom began to tell a funny story about his childhood. He had tried to build a flying machine with old metal parts and almost set his house on fire. Lyra laughed a real, bright laugh that surprised even herself. For a moment, the world felt smaller, safer. The noise of the market faded, and all she could hear was Tom's laughter and her own. They talked for a long time. Tom told her about the machines he repaired and the places he had traveled. He asked Lyra about the things she liked. She told him she liked to draw. Though she hadn't had paper in a long time, Tom promised to bring her some next time, soon. The sun was high and the market was busy. A group of humans passed by and stared at them. One woman whispered to her friend, "Why is that man wasting time with an alien girl?" Lyra heard the words and felt her chest tighten. She looked down, trying not to cry. But Tom leaned closer and said softly, "Don't listen to them, Lyra. Most people don't understand what it means to be different." He smiled again, "But I do." Lyra nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. She wanted to believe Tom. She wanted to feel safe. For the first time in her life, she felt like someone truly saw her, not just her alien skin, but her heart and her pain. She watched Tom's hands as he picked up the crumbs of bread. His hands were strong, but there were small scars. Lyra wondered what stories those scars held as the afternoon sun turned gold. Tom stood up. He promised to come back tomorrow. He handed Lyra a small piece of paper and a broken pencil. "For your drawings," he said. Lyra smiled. Holding the gift tightly, she watched Tom walk away, his figure growing smaller in the crowd. For the rest of the day, Lyra sat quietly. She drew small pictures on the paper stars, mountains, and a face that looked a little like Tom's. She felt a gentle warmth in her chest. The bread, the tea, the stories, they were more than food. They were hope, and hope was the beginning of something new. Trouble returns the next day. The market felt colder. Even though the sun was shining high in the sky, Lyra came early. Her basket a little heavier because Tom had given her some bread and fruit for breakfast. She held the broken pencil and small piece of paper close to her heart. Drawing pictures last night had helped her sleep for the first time in many weeks. For a moment, it almost felt like she belonged somewhere. But deep inside, she knew the world could change in an instant. Lyra took her usual spot by the old wall and waited. She looked for Tom, hoping he would return soon. But the market was already full of people, and many faces were unfriendly. She tried to ignore the stares and the harsh words whispered behind her back. She focused on her drawings, making small stars and shapes on the paper. It was the only thing that made her feel safe as she was drawing. The same group of boys from before walked by. They stopped when they saw Lyra sitting alone. One of the boys smirked and kicked a stone towards her basket. Another boy called out, "Why do you keep coming here? No one wants you, alien girl." Lyra tried to stay quiet, but her hands trembled. She wished she could disappear. The boys came closer, their voices growing louder and meaner. They circled around Lyra, blocking her view of the market. One boy tried to snatch her pencil. Lyra held it tightly, her heart racing. "Leave me alone," she whispered, but the boys only laughed. They knocked over her basket, spilling her things across the dirty ground. Just then, Tom appeared. He saw the boys bothering Lyra and rushed over. His face was serious, his steps quick and steady. "Stop it, all of you," Tom said loudly. The boys looked at Tom, fear in their eyes. One of them tried to look brave, but Tom was taller and stronger. He stepped between Lyra and the bullies, his body like a shield. "Is this how you treat someone who's done nothing wrong?" Tom asked. The boys stared at the ground, ashamed. "Pick up her things," Tom ordered, slowly. The boys picked up the scattered stones and pieces of metal, putting them back in Lyra's basket. They didn't say a word. When they finished, Tom nodded. "Now go." The boys hurried away, not looking back. Lyra watched everything with wide, tear-filled eyes. No one had ever protected her before. Her hands were still shaking, but she managed to whisper, "Thank you, Tom." Tom knelt down beside her. He picked up her pencil and handed it back. "You're safe now," he said gently. He looked at the paper where Lyra had been drawing. "That's beautiful," he said, smiling. Lyra blushed, hiding her face. But Tom could see she was still afraid. He sat down next to her. "People can be cruel," Tom said, "but not everyone is like that." Lyra nodded, but she was not sure if she believed him. She looked at her torn paper, wishing it could be whole again. Tom noticed and reached into his bag. He pulled out another small notebook and gave it to her. "Here for your drawings," he said. Lyra stared at the notebook as if it were a treasure. She hugged it close, not sure how to say thank you. After a while, Tom said, "Let's get away from here for a little while." He stood up and offered Lyra his hand. She hesitated, but then she took it. They walked through the market together. Some people stared, but Tom ignored them. He led Lyra to a quiet park nearby. There were trees and flowers, and the air smelled fresh. Lyra sat on a bench, feeling a little safer. Tom sat next to her. He started talking about his job fixing machines. He told funny stories about broken robots and noisy engines. Lyra listened, her fear slowly fading. She began to laugh again, just a little, for a while. She forgot about the bullies and the cruel words. She drew a picture of Tom and herself sitting on the bench. She handed the drawing to Tom, her cheeks pink. Tom looked at the picture and smiled. "I love it, Lyra. Thank you." As the sun began to set, Tom said, "You're not alone anymore, Lyra." His voice was gentle but strong. Lyra looked at him, her eyes wide. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to belong somewhere. "Will you come back tomorrow?" she asked. Tom nodded. "Every day, as long as you want me to." Lyra smiled a real, hopeful smile. They walked back to the market together. Tom made sure Lyra was safe before leaving. For the first time, Lyra felt the world might not always be so cruel. Maybe, with Tom by her side, things could change as night fell. Lyra sat in her little room, holding the new notebook close. She drew stars and smiling faces. Her heart was still a little afraid. But there was also hope. Tomorrow, she knew, would be another day, and maybe, just maybe, it would be better than the last. New bonds and old wounds. Lyra sat quietly in her room that night. The notebook Tom had given her was open in her lap. Her hands moved slowly, drawing stars, mountains, and faces that looked like Tom's. Each line she drew made her feel lighter. Like the heavy darkness inside her was slowly being replaced by something warm. Not happiness, not yet, but something close to it. She remembered the moment he stood in front of her, shielding her from the bullies. She had never seen anyone do that before, not for her, not for someone like her. That memory kept playing in her head over and over, and each time she whispered, "Why me?" The next morning, Lyra walked to the market with her basket and her notebook. She wore the same old coat, but inside she felt a little taller, a little stronger. Her heart still held fear, but also something new, trust. She arrived at the usual spot by the old wall, and before she could even sit down, she heard a familiar voice. "Hey, Lyra," Tom said, smiling as he approached. He was holding a folded blanket and a steaming cup. "I thought you might want something warm to sit on." "Today," he said. Lyra blinked in surprise. No one had ever thought about her comfort before. She nodded slowly, taking the blanket and sitting down. Tom handed her the drink. It was tea, sweet and warm, as she sipped it. The cold in her fingers began to fade. Tom sat beside her, looking at her drawings. "You've got real talent," he said. "You should draw something big one day." Lyra gave a small smile, but her eyes lowered again. People don't care about what I draw, she whispered. Tom shook his head. I care. They spent the morning talking quietly. Tom told her about the machine he was fixing back at his workshop. It was an old flying drone with a broken core. He explained how he needed special metal to repair metal that was no longer made. Lyra reached into her basket and pulled out a strange curved piece of silver alloy. I found this near the shipyard, she said. Is this useful? Tom took the piece, eyes wide. This is perfect, he said. Lyra, where did you get this? She shrugged. I just look where others don't. Tom smiled. You just saved my drone. Lyra looked at the metal in his hands and felt something strange pride. She had helped someone, really helped. She wasn't just a sad face in the crowd anymore, but deep inside, there was still an old voice whispering. You're still not like them. Later, they walked together toward Tom's workshop. It was small, hidden behind two large buildings, and filled with tools, wires, and blinking lights. Lyra stepped inside slowly, her eyes wide. She had never been inside a human's place before. Tom showed her the half-built drone on the table. He explained how it worked, how the wings folded and the sensors spun. Lyra listened closely, amazed by every small detail. As Tom worked, Lyra watched in silence. She noticed a picture hanging. On the wall, it showed Tom standing with a young woman and a small boy. She looked at the photo for a long time, then asked, Who are they? Tom paused, wiping oil from his hands. My sister and her son, he said softly. They were taken during a raid. Same war that hurt your world. Lyra's eyes widened. I'm sorry, she whispered. Tom nodded. I couldn't save them, he said. That's why I help now, whenever I can. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Lyra said, I lost my mother too, and my older brother. Tom looked at her gently. We carry the same scars, don't we? He said. Lyra nodded, a tear running down her cheek. Tom handed her a cloth without a word. She wiped her face, her heart feeling both broken and healed at the same time. They sat together until evening. Tom showed her how to use a small tool, and she helped him adjust a sensor. She was careful and smart, and Tom was impressed. You've got good hands for machines, he said. Lyra smiled for real this time. Not the small shy one, but a smile that touched her eyes. As the sky turned orange, Tom walked Lyra back to the edge of the market. He gave her a small bag of parts. For your collection, he said. Lyra looked at him and said, Why are you really helping me? Tom paused, then answered, Because I see you, not what others see, but the real you. Lyra looked away, afraid to meet his eyes. I know I'm not beautiful like your women, she whispered again. Tom stepped closer. Lyra, beauty is not in the skin, it's in the soul. He pointed to her notebook, and yours is full of stars. Lyra's heart beat loudly in her chest. She looked at him, her lips parting slightly. But no words came. Tom smiled gently. Go home, rest. I'll see you tomorrow. Lyra nodded and watched him walk away again. But this time, she didn't feel left behind. This time, she felt like someone was walking with her even from a distance. That night, Lyra drew a new picture. A drone with folded wings flying under a sky full of stars. Below it, she drew a girl with blue skin and a man with kind eyes. And she wrote two simple words beneath it. Thank you. Acceptance and sacrifice. The sun rose behind the tall buildings of the market town. Its light touched the roofs, the windows, and finally the old wall where Lyra once sat alone. But today, she wasn't there. Today, she stood outside Tom's workshop, her basket full of tools and metal pieces. Her face looked calm, but her heart beat fast with nervous energy. Tom had asked her to help him repair the drone's final system. He said he couldn't do it without her steady hands. Inside, the workshop buzzed with quiet sounds, clicks, sparks, and low hums. Tom looked up as Lyra walked in. "You're early," he said with a grin. Lyra nodded. "I couldn't sleep." Tom handed her a small wire set and motioned toward the drone. Together, they worked in silence for a while, their hands moving in harmony. The room felt peaceful, like a safe bubble away from the noise of the world. But outside, things were not peaceful. The town's leader, a man named Bravik, had heard strange reports. "Some human engineer is working with an alien girl," they said. "She's walking around like she belongs here." Bravik didn't like that. He believed in keeping humans. And aliens apart, quiet aliens were fine. Invisible ones, even better. But one who smiled and made friends with humans. That was dangerous to his kind of order. So Bravik sent his guards to Tom's shop. That afternoon, while Lyra was tightening the final screws of the drone's wing, the door slammed open. 3 uniformed men stepped inside, their boots loud and eyes cold. Tom stood up, protective. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. The lead guard pointed at Lyra. "She's coming with us," he said. "The council wants to speak to her." Lyra's hands froze. She looked at Tom. Confused and afraid, Tom stepped between her and the guards. "What for?" he asked. "She hasn't done anything wrong." The guard didn't answer, just stepped forward again. Tom's fists clenched. "You'll have to go through me," he said, louder this time. The room grew tense, the air heavy. Lyra gently touched Tom's shoulder. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'll go." Tom turned to her, shocked. "No, Lyra. You don't have to," but she shook her head. "If I don't go, they'll just send more men." Tom looked into her eyes and saw something new: strength. She was tired of hiding, tired of being afraid. "Promise me," she said softly. "You'll come find me." Tom nodded. "I promise." The guards led Lyra through the market. People stared, some with pity, others with hate. Whispers followed her. "That's the alien girl. She's the one with the human. She's dangerous." Lyra walked with her head high, though inside, her fear was loud. She thought of the stars she had drawn, and Tom's voice telling her, "You're not alone," at the council hall. Bravik sat on a high chair, looking down at her. "So," he said slowly, "you think you can live among us?" Lyra didn't answer. Bravik stood and walked around her. "You've caused trouble, alien girl," he said. "You've made humans question things. Some even say you're kind." Lyra looked up, her voice calm. "Is that wrong?" Bravik's face twisted. "It is when it makes people forget their place." Suddenly, the door opened again. Tom burst in, holding the drone in his hands. "She saved this," he said loudly. "She gave me the missing part. She helped rebuild it. She's not a danger. She's a gift." Bravik scowled. "She doesn't belong here." Tom stepped forward. "Then, neither do I." The room went silent. Shocked at his words, "I'd rather leave this town than live in a place that turns away someone good." Gasps filled the air. Some guards lowered their weapons, unsure. Bravik's voice rose. "You'd betray your own kind for her." Tom nodded. "I'm not betraying anyone. I'm choosing what's right." He turned to Lyra and reached out his hand. Lyra hesitated for just a second, then stepped forward and took it. Together, they stood side by side, facing the council, human and alien, not enemies, not strangers, but equals. The room remained still. Then, slowly, a voice from the back spoke. "She helped me fix my cart," said a market vendor. "She gave my daughter her last fruit," said a woman. One by one, people stepped forward, sharing small moments of kindness. Lyra had shown. Tom smiled at her, and Lyra's eyes filled with quiet tears. She hadn't known anyone noticed. Bravik, red with anger, slammed his hand on the table. But the people no longer listened to him. They saw the truth now, not in speeches or rules, but in actions. And in the simple way a human and an alien stood together without fear. That night, Lyra and Tom walked back through the market. People nodded, some even smiled. It was not a full welcome, but it was a beginning. Lyra looked at the stars above and whispered, "Maybe I do belong." Tom squeezed her hand gently. "You always did," he said. "They just needed time to see it." She is beautiful in his eyes. The wind was soft that morning. The market was waking slowly, with smells of bread, fruit, and old rust in the air. But something had changed in the town, something quiet, something new. People still looked when Lyra passed, but not with hate, not with fear. Some smiled. Others nodded, and a few even waved. It was small, but to Lyra, it felt like the whole world shifting. She walked beside Tom, their steps matching, their silence comfortable. Her basket was full of trinkets and drawings, but her heart was lighter than ever. Tom had built a small stall for her right next to his workshop. It wasn't big, just wooden boards and cloth, but to Lyra it was a castle for the first time. She was not just sitting against a wall like a shadow. She had a space of her own. As she set out her drawings and polished stones, children came. Closer, one brave little girl touched a silver rock and asked, "Did you make this?" Lyra smiled and nodded. The child giggled and whispered, "It's pretty." Lyra's heart warmed at the words. No one had ever called something of hers pretty before. Tom watched from the side, his arms crossed and a small smile on his face. He had always seen something different in Lyra, something bright behind her sad eyes. He remembered the first time he saw her, small and afraid in a crowd that didn't care. Now she stood tall, with soft confidence growing each day and every time she smiled. Something in Tom's chest stirred deeper. Later that evening, they sat on the rooftop of the workshop. The stars were shining above them, quiet and endless. Lyra leaned back, her eyes full of wonder. "My mother used to tell me that stars were old souls watching over us," she said. Tom looked up too. "Then I think one of them is watching you closely." Lyra laughed softly. "Why me?" Tom turned toward her, his voice low. "Because you shine." Lyra looked away, her smile fading a little. "I still don't feel like I fit here," she said. "I know I'm not beautiful like your women." Tom didn't answer at first. He just looked at her glowing skin under starlight, at her strong hands, her kind heart. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Lyra," he said slowly, "you are the most beautiful person I've ever met." She froze, her breath caught in her throat. "No one's ever said that to me before," she whispered. "I mean it," Tom said. "Not just how you look, but how you carry pain and still smile. How you give even when you have nothing. You taught me more than any human ever." As Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not from sadness this time, but from something gentler. "Do you really see me?" she asked. Tom nodded. "I see you." And that one word, "you," felt like sunlight in her chest. In the days that followed, Lyra's stall became popular. People came not only to buy her things, but to talk to her, ask for drawings, hear stories. About her planet, she told children about silver lakes and singing trees, about glowing skies and gentle beasts. And when she spoke, they listened with wide eyes and open hearts. The wall that once stood between alien and human was slowly falling, and the cracks had started with kindness. Tom and Lyra spent more time together, fixing machines, walking through quiet streets, watching stars in silence. One night, Tom gave her a necklace, a small silver piece shaped like a star. "I made it from the metal you found," he said. Lyra touched it gently. "It's beautiful." Tom smiled. "It's yours. Just like this life we're building." Rumors still circled. Some people still whispered. But now, they whispered softer. And some voices even defended her. "What matters is what she's done," they said. "She helped us. She made this town warmer one morning." The mayor called a gathering in the square. He spoke about change, about unity, about learning to see others beyond the skin. Then he looked at Lyra and said, "Sometimes, the one we think is least like us teaches us the most." The crowd clapped, not loud, but real. Lyra's hands trembled as she stood beside Tom, her face glowing in the soft light. Later that day, she returned to the rooftop and looked at the sky. She held the necklace in her hand and closed her eyes. She thought of her mother, of old songs and silver lakes. And she whispered, "I'm safe now." Tom joined her, sitting close. "So," he said playfully, "still think you don't belong here?" Lyra laughed gently. "No, I think I was just waiting to find my place." Tom leaned closer. "And you did?" She nodded. "Yes, with you." And as the stars lit the sky above them, two figures sat side by side, human and alien, no longer strangers, no longer afraid. They had crossed worlds, crossed pain, and found something rare. Not just friendship, not just peace, but love, the kind that sees beyond skin, beyond scars, the kind that says, "You are beautiful just as you are."